I believe smart goods transport could eliminate most greenhouse gas emissions. But can data support this claim? Charts like this one, prepared by Our World in Data, show most global emissions come from energy use. Only some energy emissions are for transportation, and only some transportation emissions are for freight. Data presented this way suggests the best climate solutions won't be found in goods transport, but in green energy. Of course, green energy could reduce emissions, but reaching net zero will require even more solutions. In this video, I will play with data to argue goods transport deserves more attention. 20 tiles represent annual global greenhouse gas emissions. A tile falls for every category of emissions related to smart goods transport that represents about 5% of global emissions. Some tiles are thicker, some are thinner. This is not a funded scientific study, but a thought experiment. How many tiles could fall if everyone on Earth can move goods cheaply and easily without creating emissions? With a near-perfect goods transport system, emissions from freight transport would plummet, as would emissions from passenger vehicles. Better goods transport could lead to fewer trips made by smaller vehicles that are easier to electrify. With fewer cars and trucks on the roads and transport available to deliver mobility devices, people are more likely to choose active transportation. This shift, combined with the possibility of sharing some goods transport infrastructure, could spur transit and intercity rail lines. Goods transport could reduce most transportation emissions on this chart. But this chart doesn't identify all transportation emissions, just those from operating vehicles. Extracting, transporting, and refining fuel for transportation also creates emissions. The automobile system needs more than fuel. Reducing driving would cut demand for both automobile manufacturing and automobile infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, and parking. Goods transport could halt trends toward car dependency. Thus, anticipated reductions from projects like electrification won't be offset by emissions from automobilization. So, goods transport could have a big impact on the entire transportation system. Goods transport could also affect logistics. Instead of relying upon disposable containers and packaging, smart goods transport might not need as much packaging and could return containers for reuse. By delivering on demand, smart goods transport could also reduce emissions related to storage, such as those from refrigeration and space heating. So, goods transport could create efficient logistics, and efficient logistics could improve goods management. A system that manages goods could reduce food waste. Better goods management could reduce emissions by encouraging people to share consumer products like clothes, tools, and supplies. People could also share access to more efficient appliances like clothes washers and dryers instead of owning their own. And with less clutter, people could live and work in smaller spaces. Better goods transport could also fine-tune recycling and composting programs. A system to transport goods could better manage sewage. Instead of creating emissions during treatment, this product could be used for power or fertilizer. Goods transport could distribute farming tools and other essentials to discourage farmers from burning crops and deforesting land. Combining goods transport with computing power could lead to better decision-making. This game so far showed emissions linked to goods transport is comparable with the amount of emissions related to energy, which suggests goods transport should receive similar amounts of attention from policymakers. But there is more. Smart goods transport could also support clean energy solutions. Combining installing goods transport infrastructure with upgrading and extending a clean power grid could speed up and expand electrification. A logistics system with smart goods transport could help acquire material for and help deploy renewable energy components. By scheduling trips when solar and wind are most abundant, smart goods transport could help optimize the grid. Creating a logistical network to facilitate developing and deploying new climate solutions could help innovators tackle the remaining emissions. For emissions that can't be avoided, smart goods transport could manage equipment and supplies to support carbon capture and other carbon offsets. So, smart goods transport could reduce emissions from transportation and logistics, improve goods management, support clean energy, and create momentum for net zero. This video raised a few key points. Analysts tend to underestimate emissions from transportation by not considering emissions from the whole transportation system and the risk of future emissions from automobilization. Most greenhouse gas emissions come from making, moving, stashing, trashing things. Goods management is key to eliminate these emissions. A smart logistics system has the potential to support other climate solutions, such as clean energy and carbon capture. I hope this video made a good case for proper studies of the potential for goods transport to lower greenhouse gas emissions. This thought experiment assumed a perfect smart goods transport system is possible. Well, technology that could create an almost perfect goods transport system does exist. Think about what the internet did for communication and information management, and imagine a similar revolution for transportation and goods management. For more thoughts on the next internet, please watch more videos on this channel.